Git is a tool that we can use to track changes to a project. So let's say that we wanted to create a Seal disco party. We could have an initial commit where it's just the dance floor by itself. We could then add some blue light, make a commit there, then add red light, make a second commit. Then we can add green light, and finally we can add our seal. And so when you're first learning how to code, typically this is how you'll organize your project. You'll just make changes and you'll commit them to your master branch as you go along. Unfortunately, this is bad branching practice and it makes organization a mess because this is what ends up typically happening. You'll have your initial commit, you'll then try one thing and then you'll change something else or fix something. And then before you know it, you end up having a master branch that has hundreds of commits on them. And it's really hard to be able to tell which commits are good workable ones and which commits you accidentally broke something or the code didn't quite work. Here is a comparison of good and bad branching practices. So on the left here, this is bad branching. And so you can see that every commit's on the master branch. When this was being developed, you're just trying to get stuff working. So you're making like really bad commit messages. In this case, it was just updating every single time. And it's like basically impossible to tell what you changed at a glance from commit to commit. And so a much better way to be able to do this is to separate out your master branch into your staging branch. You can see here that this is much more organized. So we can see exactly what's going on where we had our initial commit, then we made a staging branch where we added our base blog number 1. Then later we added Google Analytics, style components, CSS, fonts, and you can see exactly what I'm doing every commit along the way. Then when we're ready, we can merge these changes down onto our master branch. So now we have 2 branches that are always good to go. We have our master branch, which will be production ready, and our staging branch, which is where anytime we'll make a feature, it gets committed onto staging and the feature is good to go at that point. You can organize your own project to be able to do this. So step number 1 is you have your repo and with your master branch and your initial commit. So the first thing you do is you create a staging branch. Then we create a feature branch, which in this case is add blue light. So then we can make changes onto our feature branch until the feature is finished. So let's say first we add the light fixture, then we add the light bulb, and then we plug in the light. And so we're making all of these changes onto this feature branch. And what it allows us to do is we can play around with the stuff as much as we want onto this feature branch. And even if we accidentally break something, it won't break our staging or our master. So it's cleanly separating out work in progress from branches that are actually ready for production or staging. Once our feature is done, we can create a pull request. We can then give this pull request to other people on our team, and they can look it over and make sure that it looks good. And so once it's good, they can approve the pull request and squash the changes. And so what this will do is that even if you had 20 or 30 commits onto your feature branch, it will squash them all down into one single commit, which then gets pushed onto your staging. We approve the pull request and we squash all the changes onto this commit that's called add blue light. And so from there, we can now delete our feature branch because all of the changes in that feature branch are now encapsulated in this single commit that we made onto staging. We can just keep doing this. We keep working on different feature branches. And so this ensures a clean staging and master branch that are always ready to deploy. If we have our master branch here, that's our empty dance hall. We then create our staging branch. And so what I'm showing you here are the 2 different pictures to show the state of our Seal disco party on the 2 different branches. So we can see that both of them are empty right now because we haven't done any work. We then add our blue light on a feature branch. We make our different changes, and then we do a pull request onto staging. So now, once that pull request gets approved, we now have a new commit that's on staging that's called add blue light. And so you can see when we compare master to staging now, staging has a blue light, whereas master still doesn't. So now we can do the same thing with adding our red light. We can make our different commits, and when it's good to go, we can do a pull request. And so once that's been added and approved, we'll do our pull request onto staging. And so now our staging has our blue and our red light, whereas our master still doesn't have anything. We can then add our green light. And then finally, we can add our seal. We can do a pull request. We can squash all those changes. And so now we have a staging branch that has our whole seal disco party, whereas our master branch, because we have not done a pull request from staging onto master, doesn't have anything. And so at this point, it seems like this party is ready to get started. And so we can create a pull request from staging onto master. And so this is going to be our release 1.1. And it's only when we issue this pull request from staging onto master that all of those changes that we've been making on staging get merged and into a new commit that's on master. And so it's only at this point then that our staging and master match each other. In summary, the problem with making all of your commits onto a master branch is that there are way too many commits with an unorganized history, and there's no separation between the finished commits and a work in progress. So just looking at all these commits right here, I can't tell which ones are working and which ones are broken. And so a much better way to be able to do this is to create a master, a staging, and feature branches. But you can see that without squashing all of your commits, it ends up looking pretty messy. So you can see that all these changes are being made on our feature branches and then doing a pull request and merging them down into staging. We're not doing the squashing. So because of that, this looks better, but it's still a little bit messy. And so the ideal way to be able to do this is to still create your master and staging branch, do your work on your feature branch, but do a pull request with a squash. And so that will lead to this really clean commit history.